So I was thinking about examples in entertainment like TV and movies where the wife is depicted as being dominant and the husband is shown as being submissive, and why that's being advertised instead of both parents being responsible, and how this could affect the dynamic or the way couples in America pursue their own relationships, being programmed by the programs, by entertainment, by Hollywood. Now, I'm not saying that even most couples would be influenced that way, but the fact that this is funny, and I'm not saying that it isn't entertaining, this idea of gender role reversal in relationships, anything creative or out of sync, anything unusual, you can find entertaining, you can find humor in it. But for that to influence how a lot of couples pursue their own relationships, that seems to be problematic in modern day dating or modern day couples. And I wanted to bring it up because it seems like a lot of women, if they wanted their significant other, like their boyfriend or their husband, to be submissive, then them, uh, a woman being what dominant, is probably just egotistical, like she's just feeding some social need, or but not actually accomplishing anything what tangible, anything really useful, other than being entertained. And one example I was thinking of with that is the marriage of Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel, where their relationship has been described as she's running the marriage and he just wants to keep her happy. And I don't think there's anything completely wrong with that, but one example, one incident, let's call it, I read about in some article was that Justin Timberlake had some sort of outburst while he was on set, or while he was, what do they call it? Uh, Practicing his music, or the it's when a musician does their um, they practice their routine before a performance rehearsal during a musical rehearsal, or whatever, before a concert. And i'm I think I remember someone mentioning that he was stressed out or whatever, and he yelled at someone. And when that happened, I think it was reported that his wife was suggesting that he talk to someone, like see a therapist or whatever, just try to get his anger under control in tense situations at work or wherever. And I was just thinking that, what is she worried about if he didn't have an outburst at you, you know? And I've heard people mention that when you, when a man wants to attract girls, that it could turn her off if you are mean to people or mean spirited or whatever. And I don't disagree with that. I could understand how someone will perceive that as, oh, well, if he's going to treat people that way, he'll probably treat me that way in some instances. But in that particular situation, it just seems like if you're already married to the guy, and so you should know him pretty well, then why wouldn't you perceive an incident like that as an isolated incident? Like, people get angry sometimes, and it's not like he's having a loud outburst at his wife. It's just some random person that made him upset. And it's that type of example that makes me think that someone may want to overhype a situation to feed their own ego. Maybe there's not enough going on in their own lives so that they have to hyperinflate a situation to make themselves feel like they're more active than they actually are. Like you don't have to go out of your way to give some stellar performance in some challenging pursuit when you can just over dramatize a simple situation like a dispute, an altercation, a disagreement. So that's one instance where you'll have a couple where a woman wants or probably could be perceived as being dominant and a man being submissive. A guy just wanting to satisfy his wife at all costs. I probably don't have a lot of experience with being submissive to a girl. I have wanted to go out of my way to keep a girl happy, but I never felt the need to be submissive in any way. It doesn't seem natural, and I don't even think I've ever had the opportunity to do that. But I've had some experiences where a girl has tried me and got out of line and probably wanted to embarrass me, but it was more like a social tiff, a social dispute, rather than something that I would actually take serious. Like I've been slapped by a girl before. I have I have had arguments with a girl in public. I've had girls at work try to boss me around because they they wanted a workplace arrangement for themselves, and instead of creating their job the way they wanted it to be, they would bother me to sort of make themselves feel better about their situation. And of course, I've had people talk about me behind my back in the workplace and criticize me to others, and you know, backhanded insults and being passive aggressive. I've experienced all of those types of offensive behaviors from girls in the workplace, outside of the workplace, at school, in my community, even from family members. I've had girl cousins try me and insult me and so on and so forth. And there's nothing I could do. Once I had a girl cousin criticize me in my own home, and I think I was maybe not 9 or 10 years old, and I said that I was gonna push her or punch her or something, and she told my aunt, and my aunt scolded me for it. And at the time, I was just a kid, and I'm thinking, hey, how are you gonna insult me in my own house? So, I don't have a lot of experience with threatening girls, but that was one instance, and probably the only one actually. But it's these types of situations where a guy is supposed to be, or there's this underlying suggestion that, like, you'll hear terms like toxic masculinity. It's a fake term. I don't believe in it. I don't believe that real masculinity could be toxic, but it's this idea that men should tone down their stature so that people won't feel so threatened or whatever. So then one example of this is when a woman is dominant in a relationship and a man is submissive, so that she may feel a little more equality between her and her significant other. But I wouldn't recommend that type of dynamic in a relationship. I don't think that there's too many benefits, and it's probably not that serious, but you know, the original traditional dynamic of a man being dominant and a woman being submissive, not that they're not equal partners in a relationship, just in terms of decision making. But to be more specific about that, if a man is dominant in the traditional way, it's not that he's dominant to the woman. It's just that he is maintaining his responsibilities. So he's approaching certain situations in a relationship as an expert. So he'll have final say over his responsibilities. That's what being dominant means. In a relationship, it doesn't mean that you're dominating your partner or putting them down or making them feel less than in any situation. It's more like she has her duties and he has his. And as an expert for a particular task, he'll have final say over this particular situation. The same way she'll have final say over her predefined responsibilities. So I just thought I might mention that. And if you have examples that you've seen in your own life of men who are submissive and women who are dominant in relationships, or if you've experienced that, or any any examples like that you can think of, then leave it in the comments. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the comments. And if you could like and subscribe, that would be great. And talk to you later.